Welcome to the Bercich Breakdown and Irish edition. Pete Bercich joining us already for the trip. He's got the Irish flag out. He's got new Viking wear right there with the two countries on the stop, and he's got the Steelers broken down in this week's Eye in the Sky. That's also on YouTube as well. That's the name of Pete's personal YouTube channel. And Pete, you obviously look excited for this, despite this being one of many trips you have now taken overseas with the Vikings. How is this one going to be different? Is it just the length of time? The next week is going to really be the test, not just this game against the Steelers?
Yeah, we've done this. This will be the fifth time, I believe, that we've gone over. So going there to play a game is something that this team's very familiar with. We're all pretty familiar with. Being, I think, 4-0 over there right now means that they kind of have it figured out. So, or at least have the system figured out. Because there are games there, multiple games in London every year, the infrastructure's there, the hotels, all that stuff is all pretty much set up. What's different is just the length of time that we're all going to be there. And again, for this first game, it's in Ireland, so it's a little bit different, but still, it's a long road trip, so to speak. It's just what happens after that game into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when normally you're getting back and you can go to treatment, go to the facility, do those things. The coaches have all their film and computers and all that stuff in their offices. None of that's going to be there, right? So that it's really going to be the lead up to the Cleveland game that's going to be a lot different for everybody. And it is what it is. I still think it's better to have two away games at neutral sites than to have to go to Pittsburgh and then have to turn around and go to Cleveland.
Okay.
So especially if Cleveland wins another game in between, right? They're going to start getting a lot of momentum, and that home crowd's going to get going, and so Cleveland could actually be a loud place to play. And we won't have that as much. So those are really the main differences.
All right, before we dive more into this Steelers game, let's talk about the Vikings and where they are at in your mind. Are they closer to the team that got embarrassed in their home opener against Atlanta, or are they closer to the team that put 52 on the board against the Bengals? Because there is such a wide difference between game one and game two of that homestand.
And it's just wild to see how the NFL is, where Cincinnati beats Cleveland, and then we turn around and do what we did to Cincinnati, and then Cleveland goes out and beats Green Bay. Meanwhile, Atlanta goes and plays Carolina and gets shut out. So where they bench the quarterback that beat us. So it's very inconsistent. So again, nothing is ever as good as it seems or as bad as it seems, and somewhere in between reality usually lies. The main things are turnovers, right? We benefited immensely from turnovers, the same way that the Pittsburgh Steelers did against New England. New England turned the ball over 4 times, twice, I think, inside their own 5-yard line. So turnovers right now, at least in the last week, were huge parts. Special teams were huge as well. We're kicking record-setting field goals in our place, and other places are getting them blocked. So it's like every week there's something new, but you're protecting the football, continuing to create turnovers on defense. Those are things that the more you can do, the more likely you're going to get a Cincinnati outcome than you are an Atlanta outcome.
Yeah, I think if you win the turnover battle 5-0, I think statistically you should do pretty well. I think it's about probably 99.8% of the chance you're going to win if you have a margin like that in the turnovers. But let's talk a little bit about the peanut punch. We did this also on Vikings postgame tonight, Sunday night, 10:35. It'll be every Sunday night on Fox 9. Pete's a big part of that. And just the way they attack it. I spoke to Isaiah Rodgers, who is the NFC Player of the Week, and he told me that Flores teaches, and I don't know if he's putting stuff out there, but to punch right at the elbow, that the top hand can control the ball. So if you hit him up here, it stays with him. But if you go down here and hit at the bottom, or even if you hit his arm, the ball has a better chance of coming out. Is this a new revelation of attack, or was this something that you guys used back in your day when you were linebacking for the Vikings?
Well, I think I heard Ben Lieber earlier in the week talking about this on the radio, and he brought up a good point. Was back in our day, it was always secure the tackle first, right? The first guy to the ball secures the tackle. It's the second and third guy when they get to the ball carrier. You're the ones that are responsible or need to strip that football loose. It's now become a primary way to stop people and really, to try to get a punch in. The risk being you don't get to make the tackle, or you can give up extra yardage. So I think in that regard, it being a lot of these fumbles, these guys are running in open space, and the first thing to hit them is the punch, and they're not used to that. The second part of your question is, when you carry a football, you should have 3 points of pressure on the ball: the tip, where your fingers are, where your elbow is, and then you should be squeezing it against your chest.
Okay.
And if that ball is not up against your chest, hard to run that way, right? Hard to keep your balance by having that football against your chest. Once you pull that away, the weakest connection, the weakest link is it's your elbow. So that's the area that you want to make sure if you're going to hit there. Now you got to be careful, because if you just hit the elbow, it hurts like hell. I mean, that's no fun when you try, when you're going in for a turnover and try to do an underhand punch, and then you hit the guy right, hit somebody right in the elbow. But it's a risk worth taking, I guess, these days. So it's just, I think, with the way that players are limited in tackling now, and I say that because of the horse collars and dragging people down from behind, those kinds of things, the hip drops, because they're limited on that. If you're catching someone from behind, the punch is really a great way. It's about the only weapon that you have left. So they're using it more, using it effectively. But again, with turnovers and with fumbles, you are what you emphasize in football. And when everybody does drills like this, everybody. However, it's the players that have to carry that onto the field and say, we're serious about this. And with the last couple of weeks, with the way the Vikings have gone, they've been very serious about it. It's become a huge weapon, for this defense.
All right, one last thing before we dive into Carson Wentz, Rodgers. I want to get into that and talk more about your video. Just one more thing about Isaiah Rodgers. When he signed here, he was a day one free agent. He was, I believe, the first guy they signed. So they identified something in his game, and he was pretty much just a backup with the Eagles. And then, of course, he had the suspension problem. So, he wasn't a high dollar guy. So does he kind of fit the same pattern that we've seen with Grenard, Cashman, Van Ginkel, guys that were not, for the fans, doing cartwheels that we signed them, but then all of a sudden we see these guys turn out to be Pro Bowlers? Do you think Rodgers has some of that makeup that those three had last year for the Vikings?
Yeah, absolutely. And, tip of the cap to Flores, to Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, for the entire pro personnel staff for identifying this talent and then bringing in whose idea it was, whoever pushed hardest. Because I know when they signed Isaiah Rodgers and they said he was going to be the starter, first thing you do is you get on and look at statistics, see how he's done, and you notice that not a lot of starts. There are a bunch, and he had played well at times, but you didn't see the consistency. So you're saying, okay, we're projecting here that this guy could be an everyday starter,
right?
And whoever did that did a fantastic job. Brian Flores knows exactly what kind of player he needs to fit what he is trying to do. And that is extremely valuable, not just in bringing in great talent, but saving money, right? Anyone could coordinate a great defense if you have 5 or 6 all-pros, 7 all-pro players. You get 2 good corners and 2 good defensive ends, you're going to be a good defense no matter what. But you got to pay them all. And that's in this salary cap NFL that we're in, you just can't do that. So They've done a masterful job, especially on defense, bringing in guys like Isaiah Rodgers and Jonathan Grenard, who I still think is the best player that our defense puts out there. He's just unbelievable in so many ways. Those guys were unbelievably valuable gets in free agency, and that hopefully that trend will continue because Flores is saving this team a lot of money.
Absolutely. All right, Carson Wentz, speaking of cheap, he didn't cost much at all to be acquired by the Vikings as he was sitting out waiting for someone to call. Got the call. Now that you've had time to look at the film of his first start, what did you see? And more importantly, does it continue to play out as successful for him now that he'll start this game and more than likely start the Cleveland game on this double dip overseas?
Well, you hope so. A quick passing game, right? Pistols, shotgun, that kind of thing, getting the snap, making quick decisions. He has the ability, and you saw him do it a couple times, especially with some of the high-low routes, is just wait for the deeper route to develop and just get through that first window into that second window and just know the timing and have the patience and then the arm strength to just zip it in there once that thing comes open. We saw him do that a number of times. There was a deep shot that he could have taken into Jalen Naylor. It was a play he scrambled and was tackled out of bounds. That's a throw I'd love to see him try to make. I think, if anything, he was just trying to be safe that first time out, not try to do anything too, out of body.
Sure.
But hopefully that'll grow. So you ask what I want to see over the next couple of weeks. Well, you want to start seeing some of these deep shots take hold, right? You want to see some of these throws further down the field take hold, and instead of scrambling and some of those things, just go ahead and throw it. Go ahead and heave it. So if he opens that up a little bit, there's a lot more potential there. He did exactly what he needed to do and what you needed the quarterback to do to win that type of football game when you were putting points on the board defensively. No turnovers. We got to cut the penalties. They're driving me crazy. All the pre-snap and all.
Well, only 13.
Everybody laughs about it. You're laughing about it, but it's like, okay, when we get into a tight game and it's a one possession type game for 2-3 quarters, those penalties are going to kill you. And the only drives that were stopped were ones that we did ourselves, right? So in that regard, you're your own worst enemy. Does the quarterback have control over all of that? No, but it's an emphasis that you have to have. So you fix some of that, take a few more deep shots. Hopefully not having Donovan Jackson won't be too huge of a loss. I mean, Brandell played guard there last year, put together a number of really good games early on in the season. I think he struggled toward the end. So hopefully he'll come out and play like he did early last year.
Right.
And here we go.
All right, let's get into this now. Right after this clip on YouTube, Pete's will be right behind us. It's Eye in the Sky if you want to jump ahead to that right now because I'm rather boring, but Pete's still here. Anyway, you go to Eye in the Sky, that's his YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch this entire clip. Vikings versus Steelers, the film preview, and obviously there's got to be some Aaron Rodgers in there. How much does this guy have left in the tank? Because you have not been a big fan of him coming here to Minnesota, feeling that he didn't have enough to carry this team to where they want to go. What have you seen so far in his first few games with the Steelers?
He's still a very good quarterback, and he does certain things as good as well, or if not better than anyone else. Pre-snap, you're going to see the Steelers will get to the line of scrimmage very quickly, and then they'll just let Aaron do his thing in the back end, trying to read the defense and figuring out where he wants to go. So at diagnosing defenses, he's very, very good. He's also very good with still some of the short underneath throws, but the ball has to come out quickly. It's amazing how he never really resets his feet and doesn't take a stride, even when he's trying to throw deep balls. So it's all arm. He's using just all arm, but he's still very accurate. His ability to throw a fade, you have DK Metcalf out there, wide receiver. They're not really 50-50 balls. They're more like 75-25 balls. I mean, you have a huge target and a wide receiver, and his ability to just get the snap, take a step, and just throw a fade still accurate, still deadly. So if you roll up a corner and you have a safety that's, playing a deep half or deep middle, he's gonna throw it. He's just gonna step back and throw it. Those are the weapons that he has. What's changed is you really, as a defense, want to get him off of his spot. You don't want him to be able to get to the top of his drop and just sit and be able to read. You got to get him to move. Where back in the day, everybody would hold their breath because when he started scrambling and started moving, he made you pay dearly for it. He was throwing the ball deep. He was making things happen. I don't see him making anything happen with his legs anymore.
Okay.
He's starting to see the rush. And when he does scramble, he's just trying to get rid of the football. He's still having a hard time getting it down the field. So in that regard, he's nowhere near the quarterback that he was at Green Bay. Is he still very good? Yes, he's still very good. But I see him, for lack of a better phrase, he's kind of a shadow of what he used to be. And I think we're well equipped defensively to create gut pressure, get people in his face, get him to move out of the pocket. And once that happens, if you're playing pretty tight coverage down the field, good things are going to happen. Now, they have a great running game, don't get me wrong, but we're talking mainly about the quarterback.
Okay. And lastly, Harrison Smith. He and Rodgers have such a great rivalry. How has that developed? It's more cerebral than it is physical, correct? I mean, these two just try to outthink each other.
Yeah, they do, and that's the pre-snap part of the whole thing, and the shell game that you play defensively. And we talked a little bit about this on Sunday night, where you can fake and make it look like something, but it better look exactly like something else, or else they're not. He's smart enough to understand and not believe it. So it'll be very difficult to show him something, Aaron Rodgers, that he hasn't seen before. But you have to understand the patterns and the concepts that the offense is trying to run. And because his arm isn't what it used to be, you might be able to get to some more footballs and some of the throws that he's making than you were able to in the past. So, we saw him last year with the Jets, and I understand that's the New York Jets and the Jets offense, the same, but it's still the same guy. And guys like Van Ginkel working underneath, getting into throwing lanes, Bernard, those things are all unbelievably important, and they will be important on Sunday.
All right, Pete, have a safe trip to Ireland. And again, check out his Eye in the Sky. That's his YouTube channel, Vikings Steelers Preview. We appreciate it, and you'll also see him on Vikings Game Day Live very early. The game is here on Fox 9 as well, so just leave your TV on Fox 9. You'll see Pete pregame, you'll see the game, then you'll see him also on Vikings postgame tonight, which is, 10:30 there, so you're 5 hours.
Like 4 in the morning.
Yeah. So I'm sure you'll be there, and you'll hop on a Zoom, and it'll be outstanding.
I'll be in my pajamas, but I'll be ready to go.
All right, Pete Bercich, thank you so much. And that is your Eye in the Sky. That's right there coming up next, and this has been the Bercich Breakdown.